frankly, I, like a lot of us out there, are freaking confused. I try to sit down and watch one of her podcasts where she's talking about different theories, whether it's the planes, whether it's why she doesn't buy the lone gunman Tyler Robinson theory, all of it. I watch her and I find myself becoming increasingly confused after every single episode, and then it's episode after episode. I literally gave up. I think that if you are going to stir up this much crap, that you really need to start bringing some receipts to the table. And I don't want this for her. I don't want this for her. Candace is in her mid-30s. She's a mom of 4. She's a young mother. I don't know, but I know it's not going to cut it.
Planning on revealing all of them. It's not right, okay? We don't know, but we know. You know? We don't know, but we know. And soon, we're going to know. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Who else thinks that she can't move this stuff? She can't move it, and that's why she's trying to give it away now. But guess what? You probably won't even be able to give it away, Meghan, because no one wants what you're selling. No one wants what you're serving up hot and fresh, least of all this slop, okay? It's so unbelievably ridiculous. Why don't you go ahead and actually call your dad? Quit this letter writing campaign you've got, and why don't you call your dad, Meghan? That would be nice. Hey, you guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jennifer. I'm so happy to have you here. Again, I wish it was under better circumstances. I don't know about you, but this news cycle is particularly devastating to listen to, read, and hear about. So many stories that are just genuinely upsetting. And I don't know about you guys, but often the way I get through just listening and hearing and feeling like I'm being bombarded with horrible, awful stories like this is just to talk it out, try to make some sense out of it. Not everything can be explained away, unfortunately, though. Sometimes tragedies are just that. They are horrible. They are pointless. There's no real rhyme or reason to them. The only way that we can get through it is knowing that ultimately we're not in control. The Lord's in control, and he's just going to have to get us through this. But let's start off by talking about the whole Rob Reiner situation. I'm sure you heard what happened this past Sunday at their home in Brentwood. They were brutally attacked and murdered, their throat slit by a knife, and the main suspect is their son, Nick, who is a drug-addled, mentally challenged individual. This guy, 32 years old, had been, I believe, in and out of rehab at least 20 times, 18 to 20 times before he reached the age of 21, 22. Started taking drugs when he was 15, just spiraled ever since, up and down, up and down. His parents, by all accounts, were very loving, very concerned about him. Obviously, Rob Reiner, being the successful Hollywood movie director that he was, did have the financial resources to do everything he could to try to assist his son, but it seemed like he was on a spiral that ultimately led to this. And it just brought us to where we found ourselves this past week, hearing about this 32-year-old drug addict living in his parents' guest house. And, it's looking pretty much like he is the main suspect and he is the one that did murder his parents. Now, it's just starting off by saying everyone is obviously talking about what a powerhouse of a director Rob Reiner was and how his films defined a generation. And there's a lot of people out here on YouTube that are old enough to really, really have grown up with Rob Reiner's movies. The one that really stands out to me that I had just actually watched with my kids not too long ago was Stand By Me. Stand By Me came out in 1986 when I myself was 12 years old, and all 4 main characters in that movie were 12. So to say that that movie spoke to me was a complete understatement. I remember just loving that movie, loving the messaging. I fell in love with River Phoenix as an actor. He himself defined a generation before he himself succumbed to drug use outside of a Hollywood nightclub called the Viper Room in 1993. I remember hearing that, being deeply affected. But when I heard about Rob Reiner's passing, of course, your mind goes back to all those movies that you grew up with, all those movies that you loved. I was feeling so sad, and I did watch Stand By Me again. And I was watching one of the final scenes, and I found it particularly poignant because the main character, Gordy, is talking about his friendships in the movie, and he's talking about how those friendships grew and developed and evolved. And he was talking about his best friend, Chris, in the movie, played by River Phoenix. And in that movie, Chris comes from a very rough home, and he's seen by a lot of people in the town as a troubled kid, causing some trouble in school. But you learn in the movie through Chris's conversations with Gordy how tough his own home life is. And he expresses that he really doesn't feel that he's ever going to get out of that town or make something of himself, because he just really feels like everyone has just branded him a troublemaker, do nothing. And Gordy, the main character, narrates and tells us that Chris broke out of that painful narrative that he had even thought that he was going to be stuck in forever. He got out of that small town. He made something of himself, got an education, eventually became a lawyer. And now Gordy, the main character, is a writer, writing a book about his childhood friendships and experiences. And he relays to the viewer that just that past week, his friend Chris, as an adult, entered into a fast food restaurant, encountered two gentlemen fighting, and Chris was a peacemaker. So Chris stepped in to try to diffuse tension and stop the fight, and had a knife pulled on him, and unfortunately was stabbed and died almost instantly. I just really got upset, because to know that Rob Reiner himself died from stab wounds, being stabbed to death, was particularly upsetting and disturbing. But to know that someone like Rob, despite the painful circumstances that he was taken out of this life, to know that the contributions that he made through his movies, where he shared his heart and his soul with us, will live forever. That's his contribution, and no one can take that away from him, least of all his son. But what's particularly sad is just knowing that this cycle of abuse and drug addiction really, really does destroy families. There have been statistics that I've read that said that there's probably not one family in some way or another is not touched by drug abuse, alcohol abuse, or some form of mental illness. In all of the news stories and all of the videos I've been watching about this Rob Reiner tragedy, I came across a video here on YouTube from a podcast that I had never seen before, a podcaster I had never heard of before, and he brought something very interesting to the table, and I wanted to show you guys a little bit of his podcast. The podcast is called Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski, and in this video, the host, Tony, is basically making the case that the system, the laws surrounding how to deal with people like Nick Reiner that are obviously dangers to themselves and to others, that the system of laws surrounding how to deal with these individuals is 100% broken. And I was listening to him, and I have to say, I completely and 100% agree. He talks about how when you've got somebody who is obviously in a painful cycle of addiction, someone who has been in and out of rehabilitation centers 20 times before the age of 21 obviously has a huge problem. And that often what happens in our legal system is that the laws are designed in such a way to protect an individual's autonomy over their own safety and the safety of the people surrounding them. So, for example, if you have someone that is a danger to themselves and you can actually prove that to law enforcement, usually they'll be branded a 5150, which is police jargon and, system jargon for a mental person who is just crazed. I mean, let's call it what it is. So you've got a 5150, and you can take them, you can jail them, and you can hold them. Usually these holds last for about 72 hours total, and then they are released. So it becomes this ever ending loop of, crisis, something happens, they are held, they are detained for only up to about 72 hours, then they're usually released, and then the cycle starts all over again. And because people like Rob and Michelle Reiner have no real legal recourse to actually commit their son, because he's a grown man, he's a grown adult, he's 32 years old, that the cycle just keeps perpetuating. And Tony in this podcast is basically saying that the system failed them, and the system is failing all of us, because it's not just the Reiners. There's so many people all around our country that are affected by this. And if this situation was particularly draining and hard for the Reiners, considering all of the money and resources that they had at their disposal to help their son, can you imagine what the average family must be going through who doesn't have the time, doesn't have the money, doesn't have the resources to continually basically have 24/7 surveillance watch over a family member who is a harm to themselves or others? So in this video, Tony is talking about, and he's referencing back to the 60s and 70s, when all of the mental health institutions slowly but surely all over the country started closing, and they started releasing these mental health patients back into society, reintroducing them to society. And what ended up happening was an uptick in crime in a lot of communities. The crisis of homelessness reached higher than before then levels all over the country because you had a lot of mentally incapacitated people who could not take care of themselves. So what Tony's talking about is it's a ripple effect. You close down all these state-run mental facilities, and then you now have all these people roaming the streets, roaming society that are a danger. And also, progressively over the years, the laws started changing and these laws were prioritizing individual rights, the rights of the individual, whether they would choose to accept or deny mental health treatment. And of course, a lot of times people that have severe mental illness aren't in a strong, sound state of mind to make those types of decisions for themselves. So in a way, it was a blanket that they figure they're going to throw on the problem to give a lot of these people dignity. And yes, there were a lot of abuses going on in those mental health facilities, but yet the premise was good, right? To get them the care they needed and to keep them off of the streets because most of them were a danger to society. But when you throw them all out on the streets and then you make laws that put them in charge of their own mental health, things happen. Come to where we have now, where you find the cycle that Rob and Michelle Reiner were in, where they don't really have the legal capacity or the legal authority to force their son to go to a mental health facility. Yes, they obviously tried, but the system was failing them. He went to rehabilitation numerous times, but it never worked. It didn't help him. And the way the laws were written, it's not like they could force their son to be in a mental hospital if he didn't want to be there. And it just definitely got me thinking about this story in particular in a whole new way.
That people like this would be forced to go to, didn't have a choice. Because the people around them cared enough and said, this is a dangerous person. Now, yes, we can go down the road of were some horrible, were they abused, were this, yes, there was horrible situations, and there was wonderful ones too. We can go back, we can revisit, we can do things better. I feel like at 2025, we could maybe retake this and do in a little more professional, educated, compassionate way than we did maybe 50, 60 years ago. Just saying.
He's specifically talking here about how can we revamp the entire mental health institution industry to be more caring and to be more compassionate, but still give these people the level of care that they provide. Because from what I understand, rehab centers, by and large, are voluntary situations. Someone checks in and they can go at any time, unlike those mental health institutions where oftentimes those people were put there by friends, by family members who deemed them a danger. And again, he's saying, were there abuses of the system back then? Well, of course, there's abuses within the confines of any type of system, but to throw the entire idea, the whole concept of that idea out really does a disservice to society as a whole, because what ends up happening is these people are just basically let loose in the wild and they can't regulate themselves, obviously. I mean, look what happened in this situation.
Reiners deferred. They initially trusted the programs. They believed the professionals. And when those specific programs didn't work, again and again, they felt that they were left with nothing but guilt and a son who was still sick.
That's exactly right. So to be in and out of rehab almost 20 times before the age of 21, you can't tell me that Rob and his wife Michelle didn't care, that weren't parents deeply concerned about what was going on with their son. And to say deeply concerned is an understatement. How many people would have probably given up on someone going into a rehabilitation facility after even the second or third time? But almost 20? And this is just before the age of 22. Nick is 32 right now, so that was 10 years ago. How many times since in the last 10 years?
What were they supposed to do instead? Lock him in a room? Can't do that. He's an adult. And the law said he had the right to make his own decisions, even if those decisions were killing him, even if those decisions would eventually kill them. If someone you love is mentally ill, addicted, psychotic, dangerous, all of the above, they check all the boxes, your options are essentially zero. You can beg them to get help, you can pay for treatment, you can drive them to the hospital, but unless they agree to go or unless they meet a very specific legal threshold, you cannot force them there.
So then the cycle continues, right? So you've got a crisis, you've got something happening where the family or loved ones, friends, whomever ends up getting these people in a hold, in a hospital, under observation. Do you want to go to rehab? We'll drive you. But ultimately, the way the law is written, personal autonomy wins out. If they don't want it, they don't have to be forced to get help. They're released, and then the cycle continues.
Your son is delusional? Not enough. Your daughter is using heroin? Not enough. Your husband is threatening violence? Well, unless he's making specific credible threats against specific people in that exact moment, probably not enough. In California, where the Reiners lived, you can get someone placed in a 5150 hold, involuntary psychiatric detention, but that lasts 72 hours max.
How unbelievably sad. It's just, it's beyond. I cannot even imagine what it must have been like to have been Rob and Michelle Reiner on a daily basis dealing with this son of theirs. A 32-year-old man who is just a prisoner of his own horrible choices day in and day out. And, at the time of this video, he is the main suspect. And we just had an arraignment, and his superstar high-powered defense attorney, Alan Jackson, the guy who defended Karen Reed. If you guys don't know about that debacle of a court case, look it up. It's insane. But that was in the Boston, Massachusetts area. So, like all these defense attorneys, they're really slick. They cost a lot of money. So everyone's speculating that Nick himself wasn't a multimillionaire the way his parents were. He's got to have access to some type of money, though. He's got to have a trust. He's got to have something. And what makes this particularly distasteful to me, and this is my own personal opinion, but I think the evidence is going to be overwhelming that this man did it. I mean, he is the main suspect, and it's not like he's confessing something. He's lawyering up. He's building his defense case already. And today was just a continuing arraignment. The first day he was supposed to show up. He didn't show up. And then today, apparently, Nick Reiner was in suicide or anti-suicide hold type gear where you're kind of from the neck to the knees, just almost like a straitjacket, but probably even more intense. And so he's in some suicide prevention garb, but the media was not allowed to take pictures or film him. So his lawyer is basically saying, don't rush to judgment, all this kind of stuff. And I pray to God that this is not where we go, but I have a feeling that this is where we're going. Another horrible, sensational trial. And they're going to be meeting again on January 7th. I hope I'm wrong, but I believe at that point, Nick will plead not guilty. And then we're just going to move forward and we're going to have a trial, and it's just going to be sensationalized and it's going to be horrible. And I think we all know what we're in for, what these defense attorneys do. I personally believe that they're going to build some type of defense that defames and seeks to literally destroy the legacy of Rob and Michelle Reiner. Just the fact that Nick is smart enough at this point to go ahead and hire himself a sensational defense attorney like Alan Jackson, to me tells you everything that you need to know, that we're going to be in for it. But collectively, I wonder, do we have the stomach for it? We've had such a horrible and painful news cycle in this country for years now. And it came to a crescendo this past fall with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And now this. I don't really know how much more we can take of all of this. So what can we do? Personally, what I'm doing is I am doing a lot of personal reflection, and I'm really doing a lot of praying on this, because this is stuff that is bigger than us. This is stuff that we cannot make sense of a lot of the time. And unfortunately, we're not in charge. We're not in charge of what God has plans for us, and we're definitely not in charge of what the evil devil who roams around seeking the ruin of souls is doing. I mean, his main objective is to drag as many souls as he can down to the bowels of hell with him. So, we're definitely not in charge of that. But what we are in charge of is holding fast to the Lord and desperately clinging to what we know to be true, is that he is in control, and that we are here to love him and to love our family and our friends and our community and serve them and him. So what can we do other than honor the legacy of these people that were brutally attacked and murdered in their own home? What I'm hoping is that situations like what happened here can really, really propel change. There are more laws that need to be put on the books that empower friends and family members of people like Nick Reiner to be able to step in and really, really give these people the help that they need, and not feel like their hands are so unbelievably tied in these types of situations.
Families end up in this insane loop: crisis, hospital, hold, release, deterioration, crisis, hospital, hold, release, deterioration, over and over, with no resolution, no long-term plan, and no meaningful intervention. The system isn't designed to treat mental illness. It's designed to manage liability. Hospitals don't want to hold patients longer than necessary. Courts don't want to violate civil liberties. Insurance companies don't want to pay for extended care, and families are left holding the bag, responsible for someone they have no legal authority over, no clinical training to help, and no institutional support to rely on.
Yeah, I mean, he said it way better than I ever could. I will link the entire episode from this Hidden Killers podcast down below in the description of this video. Like I said, this is the first time I've ever seen this. Tony Bruschi and his show, I think he's amazing. I think he really, really encapsulated the heart of what's going on in this issue. I don't know how big of a role God played in the life of the Reiner family. I do know that Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle were Jewish. They were getting ready to celebrate the Hanukkah season in their home. But I think that if someone is struggling with the demons of addiction, if you don't have a higher power in your life, I don't think that you are capable of making it. And there's a reason why God is mentioned in the 12-step program, even for AA, which a lot of people look at as a secular type of help program. But even in those meetings, one of the 12 tenets in those meetings, the 12 steps, is you have to surrender to a power greater than yourself and realize that it's day by day and that you are powerless over your addiction, and day by day, and asking for that higher spiritual help is what's going to get you through. And it's just day by day, and realizing that you alone can't do it. You need help. You need help from a higher spiritual being. And I don't know how they phrase it in the meetings. I've never been to one, but because things have gotten more and more secular as the decades have gone on. But you need God. You need the Lord to help get you out of these types of situations. And sometimes people are so broken that they don't take his hand. Even though the Lord is reaching for them, whether or not they want to take his hand is up to them. So it's a combination of a lot of different things. Counseling, rehabilitation. Sometimes people need medications to help wean them off of these horrible psychotic drugs that they're on. They need supportive friends. They need family members. But another big portion of the puzzle, a big missing piece that a lot of people aren't talking about, is they need God. And only by surrendering yourself to his will and knowing that whatever you're going through, it's still not as big as his love for you. People that find themselves in cycles of painful addiction, and a lot of them have a lot of self-hatred because they don't realize their own worthiness. And they think that their whole existence on this earth is to suffer and to repeat the cycle of addiction and this trap of isolation and self-hatred and just this basically, death by 1,000 cuts until you perish from these demons that are just taking over your life. But when you can look outside of that and know that there's a plan and there's someone that loves you despite all of this brokenness, and that you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to trust in him. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pray for the souls of Rob and Michelle. I'm going to pray for their family. I'm going to pray for the close friends that they had. Everyone who's ever been touched by a Rob Reiner movie. We all just need to recognize that, yes, this was a horrible tragedy. For whatever reason, God has allowed this to happen. He didn't cause it to happen, but he's allowed it to happen. And what is the greater good? What is the good that can come out of this? Well, to cherish their memories and to hopefully maybe take steps to heal this broken system that allowed this to happen in the first place. Do everything we can to talk to our kids when they're young about the dangers of these drugs and about peer pressure and about situations that they will encounter where, a lot of times kids get involved in this kind of stuff because they want to be liked, because they're running with crowds that are doing these types of things and they don't want to feel left out and they feel inherently lonely and they don't know what to do. So they get in these cycles. Well, we need to talk to our kids earlier and earlier because so much of this demonic activity has become so pervasive in the culture. We have to do it quicker, and we have to sit them down and talk to them about what they're going to see, what they're going to encounter, and how they don't need to go down that road, how they have such inherent self-worth that they don't have to subject themselves to those types of people and those types of situations. It's just so sad and it's such a mess. So hang tight to what we know is true and right and real in our own lives. Pray for everyone. Celebrate Rob and Michelle's legacy. Watch a Rob Reiner movie and just honor him and the contribution that he made to the culture. That contribution is going to be around long after this tragedy. And that light and that love that Rob brought out into the world through the messages of his great movies, that's what's going to live on. So that's the way I'm approaching this whole thing. Tell me what you guys think. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about with you guys is obviously we all know back in September about the devastating assassination of Charlie Kirk. And since then, I'm sure you all have seen and heard about Candace Owens and the controversies that she has been stirring up on her podcast pretty much since that occurred. Candace has a very, very large platform. Over 5 million people tune into her. If you've seen the amount of comments that she gets per video, many of them are over 20K comments alone for a single video. Oftentimes the video gets at least 1 million views, usually within the first few hours of upload. And she's just been talking a lot. She's been talking a lot about different theories that she has regarding the assassination of her friend Charlie. Now, to give you just a little bit of a backstory, she worked with Charlie Kirk back in the early part of her shift to the conservative movement back in 2018-ish. And what she would do is travel around the country with Charlie on speaking tours, talking about conservatism and the political landscape and just, all the things that she saw wrong with what was happening in the country, just like how Charlie did, just wanted to go out and talk and educate. Okay, fine, great. So that was back in 2018. And by all accounts, it's kind of come out in a lot of the videos and the articles and different things that I've been hearing is not that they were estranged, but they definitely weren't as close as they were when they were working together at Turning Point USA at the tail end of the last decade. And ever since his assassination, like I said, she has been hurling some wild conspiracy theories out there. Everything from the Israeli government probably had a hand in it. There's Egyptian planes. There are pastors and Christian pastors and people in his organization that that stood to gain had Charlie been wiped out and taken away from the helm of the organization.
A super fun show today. You're probably seeing the clips, but Erica has gone off on conspiracy theorists. Obviously, every journalist out there is emailing me.
Call me what you want. Go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode, going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
I have to say it. I've never seen you like this.
No, this is righteous anger because this is not okay. It's not healthy. This is a mind virus.
Because it's about me. It's indirect, but it's also about me. And don't worry, in case you think it's not about me, she is going to name check me on stage with Barry Weiss on Saturday. How do we know? Because our mommy sleuths be everywhere. And they recorded the town hall today. And as soon as the town hall concluded, we got a flutter of emails. And what she says about the Egyptian planes, I'm sorry, not gonna lie, it's a little suspicious. It's weird. It's a weird response. So look, we got to go there.
It's been a lot, you guys. It's been wild. It's been all these talking points over the last few months. She has said, or she did say in the past that, she's not going to speak out about Erica Kirk, that is something that she refuses to do. And that if Erica Kirk were to tell Candace to stop talking about what she believes happened, or, throwing these questions out about what she thinks might have happened in these theories, that only if Erica were to do that would she stop.
No one, and I mean absolutely no one, outside of my husband and Erica Kirk has the power to shut me up right now.
Well, the reason why everything is coming to a crescendo now is because Erica has been on a press tour. Charlie wrote a book that is going to be released post-mortem. He had a book pretty much finished and all the finishing touches were being laid on it, and his job was just to promote it. Obviously, he's not around to do that, so Erica is now doing that for her late husband. So Erica has been out talking about this book and talking about how she is managing in the aftermath of all this, how she is working to plan the future of Turning Point USA as she is now the CEO. And obviously because there's so much craziness going on with Candace right now, with things that she's hurling out into the public domain with her theories and her controversies, that people are going to Erica asking her what she thinks about all this. And Erica made it abundantly clear in several interviews about how enough was enough. Erica is done with it. She was done with the conspiracy theories. She was done with all of it, and that she wanted Candace to stop. So let me show you a little bit of that.
The podcaster Candace Owens, okay? At one time, a friend of Charlie's, at one time, an employee of Turning Point. She has been one of the main peddlers of these conspiracies, and she is making a huge amount of money on it. She is building her business off of these lies. What do you want to say to her?
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.
So what was the fruit of that? Well, the fruit of that was that Candace did not stop. Candace continued, and moreover, she doubled down on a lot of it. So then what ensued was a lot of back and forth.
I have sources just everywhere, CBS News, the people that were in the audience I showed you were emailing me. Podcaster Candace Owens, and I'm not even going to address this repeat talking point about people making money, except for the people that have actually made off of all of the money, millions upon millions of dollars are building her business. What are you talking about? I already had this business. I was already at the top of the chart. Stop. So Erica would like me to stop lying. And I would like to honor that, okay? I can only honor that if Erica is more explicit in terms of what I have lied about.
And where are we now? This past week, apparently Erica Kirk and Candace Owens had a 4.5 hour sit down. And we don't really know too many details about what that sit down entailed. All we do know, and what has been reported in the press, is that they both left the meeting satisfied and are basically moving forward.
I'm alive. I'm totally fine, and I'm sorry. I was going to do a show for you guys this evening, but I am truly exhausted. Very productive conversation. I asked every single question. I mean, from Egyptian planes to Turning Point USA Faith, and I was very surprised by some of the answers that I got, and I think they were also very surprised when I shared certain intel. This probably should have happened a very long time ago, but I wanted to let you guys know that I am alive.
She's alive. Candace is alive.
But what I think is getting people so upset, particularly with Candace, is that they're finding out that with every single accusation or theory that she throws out, that there's no real resolution. It's almost like these speech bubbles that Candace is leaving hanging out in the air, but there's no real investigative journalism happening in the sense that people feel that the story is evolving or that there is some type of resolution on the horizon. And rather get into all the ins and outs of all of it, because I have been following it somewhat, but I have to tell you that without getting into the muck and the mire, that frankly, I, like a lot of us out there, are freaking confused. We cannot follow Candace anymore. I can't. I try to sit down and watch one of her podcasts where she's talking about different theories, whether it's the planes, whether it's why she doesn't buy the lone gunman Tyler Robinson theory, all of it. I watch her and I find myself becoming increasingly confused after every single episode, and then it's episode after episode. And a lot of it to me felt unnecessarily hyper sensationalized. It felt to me a little disingenuous, especially when she started posting private text message conversations between herself and Charlie. And the reason why it left a weird taste in my mouth and just a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach was I felt that it was inherently disrespectful to Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow. I don't really see what the point of waxing poetic about how close her and Charlie were and to show these types of texts, other than to, I don't know, I guess play up to us the fact that she was so in with him and they were so close that, like, you know, this is why she's showing us this stuff. But to show it to us now, years and years and years later, I mean, what's the point? I mean, he was a single man back then. You know, it seemed to me that a lot of these text message exchanges were obviously between friends. Sometimes they bordered a little bit on flirtatious, but then again, I'm like, but he was single, she was single, but you know, what's the point? What is that doing to drive whatever narrative Candace is putting forward at that moment in time? Really nothing. All it was really doing, in my humble opinion, was to serve her saying that, well, you know, they're so close, or they were so close, therein you had to take everything that she was saying from that point on as gospel. And I don't know. It's really sad, because I will tell you guys that I've been following Candace Owens for quite a while. I've been watching her pretty much the whole time she was on the Daily Wire. I saw the whole fallout when she left Daily Wire. I saw the fallout between her and Ben Shapiro and how that played out. I've watched Candace broach a lot of controversial topics and present them to us. For example, the whole thing involving Brigitte Macron and this entire series that she did on her channel. I've watched her put forth theories about that, or I've watched her put forth theories about the whole Charlie Kirk thing. I've watched her put forth stories and things about Harvey Weinstein. But point being, all of these things that she's throwing out to us, again, I don't really find any resolution. Everything is just still kind of hanging in the air. And then oftentimes she'll start something and then she'll abruptly stop and go on to something else, or I'm left thinking, okay, what's going on there? Brigitte Macron is suing her right now. So she's in active litigation with her right now. Who knows what's going to happen there? But I guess where I'm going with all of this is, rather than give anybody any type of clarity, or rather than come out and say, I don't know these things, but I'm going to conduct an investigation and come back and give you what I hope to be more concrete evidence, or it's like she's not doing that. It seems like every day there's just more stuff that she's going to throw out to leave us more and more confused. And I really, really wish that Candace didn't go down this road. I really, really wish that she would have stuck to more just I don't want to say general political commentary because the woman can talk about anything that she wants, but I really, really think that she's done a real disservice to the entire conservative movement by fueling a lot of this infighting. I do find that this whole thing surrounding her controversies and her pointing the finger at so many different people surrounding Charlie Kirk's assassination it's done nothing but create hatred and division between the conservative movement. And now all that's happened is now all everyone is doing is yelling and fighting, and they're all at each other's throats right now. And another thing that I find particularly disturbing as a Catholic Christian is she herself converted to Catholicism, and it was highly publicized and highly talked about. And she talks about it on her channel as well. And I've read comment sections from other people's channels and from other people's videos talking about Candace. And a lot of them are really, really sad in the sense that they're saying, oh, well, it seems to me that Candace went batshit crazy as soon as she converted to Catholicism. Like, what's going on there? Is this how all Catholics behave? Like, you know? And it's just, I'm thinking to myself, no, that's not how all Catholics behave. And it's not a good look to stir up this type of hate and this type of division. The backlash is coming really hard and is coming really fast. And you can find it really, really loudly in her own comment section. Because after she met with Erica Kirk for that 4.5-hour meeting, I think what left a lot of people really pissed off and with a bad taste in their mouth is Candace is all about transparency. Candace is all about, I'm here on my show and I will talk to anybody at any time and I stand by what I say and I will debate anybody and, you come for me, I will strike back with answers and I will stand by what I say. Like, she's very, very into the idea of promoting herself as a truth teller. Like, she's a girl doing her best and she is going to report everything that she finds and she's going to ask questions and no one's going to stop her from doing that. So to know that when Erica and Candace did meet, that it was behind closed doors, to have them come out of that meeting and to really have a big nothing burger on her show where, she has this episode, Erica and I sat down, here's what happened, but people are saying like, you're not really telling us what happened. You're not really telling us anything new. You're just rehashing a lot of what we all already knew about what you've been saying this whole time. People wanted to know, like, what specifically did Erica tell you? Did she tell you that she is buying into anything that you're saying? Did she tell you to stop? Did she tell you that she's angry? What did she say? People just want clarification from her. And unfortunately, Candace really isn't giving it beyond saying that when she met with Erica that there were no rules and that, she was allowed to ask Erica anything and that, Candace still has concerns and was in conversation with Erica about certain individuals at Turning Point that she wants her to look into, which was already stuff that we already knew what she was putting out there on her podcast. And nothing really came about this whole Egyptian planes thing. Candace is still saying that she has overwhelming evidence that can point to the presence of these planes. And so she's always talking about this overwhelming evidence that she has to support all of these claims and assertions that she's throwing out there, but yet she still doesn't really tell us about what is this concrete evidence. We want to know, because when you're going into trial, when you're going into what is going to be played out when Tyler Robinson is on trial for this, you can only deal in absolutes. You can only deal with what you can prove. So I don't know. I just really think it's kind of sad and it's kind of scary the way she seems to have just given into this sensationalism. I've heard people say from the very beginning with all this is like, she's just doing this to really, really make money. She's doing this to get people going. She's doing this to heighten the tension, to get people hooked on whatever story. And it reminds me of those on the radio serials that my dad would tell me about, like when he was a little kid and he would listen to these shows on the radio, and then it would always lead you to, oh, tune in next time. You have to be here tomorrow to hear the rest. So there's so many people out there saying that that's exactly what she's doing. She's just constantly leaving us hanging and not giving anybody any resolution because she wants you to tune in, because the more views she gets, the more money she makes. I mean, let's be real. Pretty much anybody out here on YouTube with a platform, of course, if we have any type of sizable audience, you're going to make a little money. I don't have 5 million people watching my videos. I'm in the 20K range. But yes, I do make money on YouTube. My videos are monetized, but I just don't agree with what she's doing. I think that if you are going to stir up this much crap, that you really need to start bringing some receipts to the table. And I don't want this for her. I don't want this for her. Candace is in her mid-30s. She's a mom of 4. She's a young mother. She's talking about wanting to homeschool her kids and how important family is to her and all this kind of stuff. And I just don't know why she's allowing herself to be just so enveloped by all of this sensationalism. She's just really getting into some dicey territory. And there have been more and more people speaking out against her that are saying, no, this is wrong. Her comment section, because in that video that she released a couple days ago talking about when her and Erica Kirk had their sit down, there are people in her comment section that are basically barking at her saying, okay, so where's a resolution here? And why are you meeting Erica behind closed doors? Like, you supposedly have been so honest, upfront, and transparent with us up to this point, and everything's supposed to be out in the open with you, Candace. Well, why are you agreeing to meet her behind closed doors? And why aren't you giving us anything of substance as to what happened in that meeting behind the closed doors? Let me just read to you some of the comments here. The first one, transparency is never found in private meetings. That's where deals are made. Okay. And then I think I just realized we, the people, will never be allowed to no. And if you have watched Candace in the past, you know that one of the things she says is when she's talking about some stuff and she's like, well, she'll say something and then she'll say, well, I don't know about it. I don't know about it, but I know, which is basically her way of saying, I can't definitively prove what I'm throwing out here, but I know it's true. I know it's true.
But yeah, I do think it's very weird that he was mic'd after he sat down. Tell you that's never happened to me at a Turning Point event. They mic you backstage always. So yeah, I thought that was strange. There's a lot of things that were being done for the first time that day. And I'm planning on revealing all of them. Where are Charlie's homies at? Why are you guys all silent? Something's not right. I know it's not right, okay? We don't know, but we know. We don't know, but we know. And soon we're going to know. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
And it's like, that makes for compelling and entertaining content, sure. But is it doing anything to help your reputation? Is it doing anything to establish any type of real credibility with your audience long term once they kind of wake up to the fact that they're being led by the nose? Probably not. Probably not. Oh yeah. Even with a private meeting, the lies just continue. If you haven't been gaslit before, this is what it feels like. Confusing, draining, and nauseating. Now, to be fair, I don't know if the person writing that comment is talking about Candace being confusing, draining, and nauseating, or this whole ordeal. I have this nagging sense that a deal has been made and I am incredibly disappointed, deeply disappointed. So yeah, this commenter is like, why is this meeting behind closed doors? Why aren't you being transparent with us when you supposedly have been so transparent up until this point? Private meetings are for one thing and one thing only, secrets. Meeting privately was a serious mistake in judgment. The people know something is off and we're not here for it. Private meeting and now our only source is silenced. This makes no sense. So why is this commenter saying that their only source, meaning Candace, is silenced? Because they feel like they don't know what went on in the meeting. And now Candace, their only source of what they feel is the truth, is now really not giving them anything. 4.5 hours of conversation, and yet we, the people, are still confused ASF, as you know. So we are supposed to take this at face value without face value. Goodbye. Like, her audience is starting to get pissed with her. I mean, I don't understand this.
Okay, you guys are crazy. You guys are absolutely crazy. The amount of people who attacked me for sending out a tweet being like, hey, I'm good, I'm alive. We had a very productive conversation. And they were like, she got the call. She got the call. She's betrayed us. She's doing something else. I can't believe it. This has all just been a show. Calm down, okay? What do you think happened? Erica said, stop. And then I was frozen for 4 hours and 30 minutes, just like. I was sort of like, hey, I felt name checked by the podcaster, Candace Owens, this obvious setup, and then asking me to stop. And it's interesting to hear Erica say that the reason she didn't ask me to stop in the beginning because she was actually learning things from the show. We don't know, but we know. You know? We don't know, but we know. We don't know, but we know. And soon we're going to know now. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Like I said, I've been following Candace for a really, really long time. I really found her compelling. I really found her interesting, beautiful. She made a heck of a lot of sense. You know, when she broke away from the Daily Wire, I bought her mug. I bought the first mug she put out. I supported her. She was really big on, hey, I'm out here. I'm an independent platform. I don't have help anymore. I'm not under the umbrella of the oppressive Daily Wire who want to silence me anymore. You know, help me out, help me out. Now she's at almost 6 million. And this is where we're at. It's getting to the point now where people are like, do you have something credible to show us? Do you have any credible evidence to back up anything that you're saying? And at this point, it doesn't really seem like she does, folks. I think nothing sums that thought up better than this comment. I think this private meeting is going to cost Candace a lot. I agree 100%. 100%. If you are going to be out here, you know, screaming at us every single day about all the injustices done to Charlie, all the people that wanted him dead, all these conspiracies, but yet at this point, at this time, you don't have anything to say or show us in the form of credible evidence. I feel sad because I feel like if it comes out that she really doesn't have anything to show us, her credibility and her reputation is going to take a serious, serious nosedive. I don't know if at that point she'll be able to come out of this the other side. But unfortunately, if this is the way that you're going to conduct yourself, I mean, listen to this. Here's another one. Here's everybody's I unsubscribe button. I don't know how she's going to come out of this unless she produces something of substance. And it can't be only one thing because she has thrown out so many things that she's going to have to produce a lot of evidence, a lot of stuff to back up what she's saying, rather than just say, I don't know, but I know. It's not going to cut it. Supposedly a strong Catholic Christian, I just don't agree with the way that she's conducting herself in the public forum. There are so many people out here that don't trust the mainstream media anymore, and for good reason. So many of us felt like we were lied to over and over and over and over in the past decade. And that's why so many people like Candace Owens, like the Daily Wire, like all these podcasts, all these talking heads have sprouted up and have been really strong voices. And that's great with this whole Candace thing. She's not just reporting the news. She's not just commenting on the news. She's becoming the news. She's becoming so sensationalized that she is the news. And that is performance. To me, that's disingenuous performance. And I don't know how to feel about that other than to just turn it off. At a certain point, I just had to turn it off. And that's what I meant when I was saying, watching her talk about this Charlie Kirk thing, every single day, it got more and more convoluted and hard to follow. And just like, I had brain hurt after listening to her go off. And she sometimes goes on for up to an hour and a half every single day. I could not keep up. And I think that so many of us started feeling that as well. And after 2-3 months of this, we're wanting to know, okay, for the love of God, give us some evidence, give us something, anything. It doesn't seem like she can do that. Maybe I'm going to be proven wrong. Maybe she has a smoking gun or this red herring that she's going to pull out of her pocket and prove us all wrong. And, maybe it wasn't a lone gunman because she doesn't believe it was Tyler Robinson who assassinated Charlie Kirk. She believes that if, he did pull the trigger, that he was just a pawn in a huge game and there were all these people that were involved. And it's like, okay, well, so at this point, tell us what you know, Candace. Tell us what you know, because we are done. We're done with all this. So she's not the story here. Charlie was the story. His legacy was the story, or is the story. Finding justice for him is the story. She could go about trying to find justice for him without making herself the story, which is what she's done here. And that's what I find just so... it's just distracting. It's just distasteful, and I don't like it. So I really do hope that Candace course corrects. In the meantime, I will not be watching what she's putting out. I'm just done. I'm just exhausted. Candace just She just exhausts me. Let me know what you guys think about that down below. I'd be really interested to hear. Did you really, really like Candace like I did back in the day? And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I don't like her. I'm just really disappointed in where we're going. And like I said, I really do hope that she cuts this crap out, because you know what? I do not see this ending well. I don't like cancel culture. I don't want to see her deplatformed, not at all. But I do want to see some type of resolution to this and stop with this whole I don't know, but I know garbage, because to me, that's just what it is, garbage. To end the video, I want to talk about the magic that is Meghan Markle. And there's so much going on of real consequence and just tragic events going on. And what's Meghan doing? She's peddling her jam to us, you guys. You've got this woman who had her own sad and tragic incident happen in her own life. Her father's leg was just amputated just a week ago. And what is she doing? She's on Instagram again, and now she's shilling her orange marmalade to us. And she's telling us from now until December 21st, we're spreading a little holiday magic while supplies last. Every $70 plus order comes with a complimentary jar of our orange marmalade. Who else thinks that she can't move this stuff? She can't move it, and that's why she's trying to give it away now. But guess what? You probably won't even be able to give it away, Meghan, because no one wants what you're selling. No one wants what you're serving up hot and fresh, least of all this slop. Okay? It's so unbelievably ridiculous. Why don't you go ahead and actually call your dad? Quit this letter writing campaign you've got. And why don't you call your dad, Meghan? That would be nice. I just watched her Instagram reel, her latest one on her As Ever. Got people, looks like they're reposting, but it starts with her, it's like a table that's laid and made out, and her chocolate bars are next to the plates. And then she's showing us her wine. Okay, can't wait to partake, old Meg. And then she's got other people reposting her stuff. And then she's got this thing from Sean Gatia, an art cafe market. What does Christmas mean to you? Like, what does the holiday season? For me, it's slowing down. But as a content creator, it's really important for me to spend time with my family. So even if I'm busy or there's extra things going on, the holiday is literally just for my family and nothing else. My family's the core for me, and just like spending time with them, listening to them, their stories, sharing our year. Oh, that's lovely. How about you? What does it mean to you? For me, it's similar. I think the holidays is a time to spend intimate time with friends and family, especially. Who are these people? Who are these people waxing poetic about family? So she's got to recruit people that no one knows on her Instagram reel to talk about family, because we all know that she can't get on there and make a freaking reel about the importance of friends and family in the holiday, because we all know she's full of garbage. She's full of crap. She doesn't care about her family. She doesn't even care about the fact that her dad had a leg amputated. Ugh, I'm stopping it now because I can't even watch this. Making brioche donuts. Like, are you kidding? So she's going to have these strangers on her freaking reel talking about the importance of family. So this is what we're getting from her still. So she's hoping you're going to forget. She's hoping that you're going to be so entranced by her orange marmalade and getting it free if you spend $70 or more at her As Ever website, asever.com. And she's hoping that you're going to look at her Instagram As Ever official and watch these two influencers talk about the importance of friends and family. And you're going to be so enchanted that you're going to want to go out and buy her chocolate. And you're going to forget about the fact that her father is reading a letter that's probably tear-stained right now because he knows that his estranged, horrible daughter will not pick up the phone and call him, nor will she go in person to meet him because she's got bigger fish to fry, okay? She's busy, y'all, okay? She goes to parties with the Kardashians, and she will go out on, at Thanksgiving time, and she'll pay $3,000 so her company can go do a photo op. Let's put, food in bags for people and say that we're out doing our thing for Thanksgiving. It's sick. It's all sick and sad. And I cannot wait. I can't wait for all this as ever stuff to go away. I can't wait. Somehow, somewhere, there has got to be somebody in her company, in her organization. And there's been news stories coming out saying that they're downsizing, that they're letting people go from their teams left and right. I think because they don't have the type of money to support their lifestyle. So that's probably why they're cutting staff. But there's got to be someone. There's got to be someone who doesn't care about the fact that they signed an NDA. Please, please, I beg of you. I beg of you. Someone needs to come forward, whether it's someone that worked for her in the palace overseas or whether it's someone here stateside. I know someone that probably signed an NDA overseas when working for her in the palace is probably never ever going to come out because that's just not how the palace operates. But I pray that somebody here on American soil who worked for this woman in any capacity, I don't care if they signed an NDA or not, someone's going to have to come forward and someone's going to have to be the trailblazer because I'm sure that she treats her people horribly. And the reason why I know this is because if she's going to treat her father like a piece of trash, even when he had a leg amputated, how do you think she's treating people that work for her behind closed doors? So I don't give a rat's ass if someone signed an NDA. I pray and I hope somehow, somewhere, somebody comes forward and talks about this is what it was like to work for this woman. This is how she treats her people. Because if there's anything actionable under employment law, something that violates employment law in the way that she treats people, someone has to come out, someone has to speak, someone has to file suit. Obviously, this is all my opinion, okay? It's all my opinion. I'm willing to lay money that this person, Meghan, treats people that work for her like garbage. And I hope somebody comes up into the foray next year and outs her. We need to know. We need to know what this woman does behind closed doors because this is what is really going to have to happen. I'm tired of this platform that she has that she continuously abuses. I'm tired of the way she gaslights people, and I'm really sick and tired of watching her treat her family the way that she does. Her family has their own problems. I don't agree with a lot of the way that they conduct themselves, but at the end of the day, the way that she has treated Thomas Markle Sr. is disgusting. And it has to end. It has to end. Something's going to have to come out about this woman. And she's going to have to be challenged in the public forum in a really meaningful way. People that have known ties to her are going to have to come forward and say, she did this, she did that. Something's going to have to happen because we're not going to get anything from the palace. All of the concerns, all of the conspiracies swirling around those kids. Did she have them? Did she not have them? Are they in the line of succession? All that. I don't think we're ever going to get any resolution. Anything having to do with the palace or the family. They're probably trying to keep a lot of stuff under wraps, in my opinion, because they don't want damage and besmirchment to their good name, okay? So we're probably not going to get anything there, but something has to happen stateside. I pray it happens. She has the money and the resources to continuously fund this PR machine. And that's why she's constantly in our faces. And I think when the money dries up and when she doesn't have access to the money, she won't have access to the PR machine. She won't have access to the platforms. And then that is when it's seriously going to start drying up. Because personally, I can't wait too long. We all know once Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales children start really growing up and making a difference in the family, when George and when Charlotte and when Louis grow up and they start taking center stage, these clowns in Montecito, their platform and what they're putting out there is going to start getting more and more dim and more dull, and people aren't going to pay attention. But I still can't wait that long. I cannot wait 6 years. I can't stomach 6 more years of this woman. So please, something has to happen. That's my wish. Please, Lord, kick her out of the tabloids, kick her out of the headlines. We're done. We're all done. So tell me what you guys think about all this. Have you been on Meghan's Instagram lately? Actually, don't go on Meghan's Instagram. Don't give her views. Don't give her shares. Watch people like me on YouTube. We will tell you what she's doing. We will tell you what she's up to. But yeah, I've had it. I'm done. That was a bit of a rant, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think about the video. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. My subscriber count has really slowed lately. I don't know what's going on with the algorithm. I don't really know what's going on with the channel lately. It doesn't really seem like my videos are getting out there. I think the algorithm just doesn't like me right now. It seems to go in waves, but you know, there's more to life on my channel than Meghan, and I do have other videos, other things that I like to talk about, like my Joan Crawford series, like my Errol Flynn series. But I do know that a lot of people that tune into my channel like to hear my take on Harry and Meghan. That's great, that's fine, you are always welcome here. But what I'm doing, my strategy is to slowly but surely speak to my audience in other ways, and to let you guys know that I have, you know, a lot to say about other things. I have more interests. Hopefully you'll stick around for those videos. I would love to have you for those videos, because I like talking about a lot of things going on in the culture, not just those two Montecito con artists. So let me know what you guys think. If you haven't caught my Errol Flynn Slept Here playlist, I will link it here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye.